Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm joined with Miss Gizmo here, and we are going to be discussing memes, or popular photos that people try to recreate and tag me in. Now I will warn you, this might get a bit ranty. I often find with videos like this, I do get more dislikes because either people have done what I'm complaining about, or they continue to do what I'm complaining about and they see no wrong with it. But sometimes, people have done this and they innocently just try to recreate it. They thought it must have been fine and healthy. It's going around on the internet. And then they might find this video and be like, oh, actually, maybe I was wrong. And that's totally fine. We can all learn something new every day. But first and foremost, I would like to say there are lots of photos out there that are perfectly fine, adorable photos of leopard geckos. They're very photogenic animals, so it does blow my mind that people still insist on tipping them on their backs to recreate this. But we're getting to this meme and everything wrong with it a little bit later. But first, let's look at cuddling geckos. So, as we've discussed before on this channel, leopard geckos are kind of best on their own. They don't bond like, say, two rabbits bond. They tend to tolerate each other until they don't tolerate each other anymore. Now, there is evidence, of course, that in the wild they may live in these big groups where there's one male and a bunch of females. But to recreate this, I feel like you would need a large zoo standard enclosure where, you can have all these different tunnels and different areas of this territory. And obviously you'd be having babies every year. So I don't think this is something we can recreate as just a pet, and I think a lot of the tanks sold for leopard geckos as pets would not be good enough to have all of these geckos in one. So when I get tagged in photos of people and they're cohabbing their geckos, and sometimes these are in 10 or 20 gallon tanks, and then they're like, oh look, they're cuddling. They're not. Firstly, this picture, this smaller gecko looks really sickly and looks younger than the other gecko. And to me, this looks like something's taken from Petco or something like that, where they're just fighting over hiding in a space. Some of these photos I've found on the internet, it looks like this is the only hide these geckos have in, say, like a hot side of the tank. So obviously, if you were going to go down the avenue, which I wouldn't recommend, of having multiple geckos, you should have multiple hides. I see this a lot in pet shops where they have lots of leopard geckos together. They're all forced into this one hide. They're not cuddling. They're just trying to get the heat. It's similar with beardies when you see all the babies piled on top of each other and I was like, oh my god, they're cuddling. They're not. The one that's on top is going to have the most heat in UV. It's dominance. So we can't sort of see a leopard gecko or a bearded dragon like we see dogs cuddling or guinea pigs cuddling, they're totally different animals. So yeah, this, to me, when I get tagged in photos like this, it isn't cute. Kind of similar to this, and this photo comes up on my Facebook all the time, it's a leopard gecko and a chameleon. So why on earth are people mixing reptiles? They could attack each other, but, people could say, they're only together a few seconds, I quickly took this photo. But there's another thing where the reptile has evolved and it can have naturally occurring bacteria that it's immune to, you don't know if that gets passed on to, say, the chameleon to the leopard gecko's not used to that. So, for example, you shouldn't house rabbits and guinea pigs together. We discussed this in my 90s pet care video. Because rabbits actually carry something that's incredibly harmful to guinea pigs, among other reasons you shouldn't house them together. But I don't understand the thought behind this. I know there's also a video on YouTube, and I would highly recommend you don't look for it because I don't think it should have any views, but someone's housing a leopard gecko and African fat-tailed gecko, and one of them has dropped their tail and it's filming it trying to eat its own tail. It's just so gross that stuff like that's allowed on YouTube. And although this seems like a pretty innocent photo of just a leopard gecko and a chameleon, it can inspire others to do this, and it's just not worth the risk. The next photo I want to discuss is a leopard gecko on a leash. Now, leopard geckos tend to want to walk around you, or around an enclosure, or around somewhere they can hide in or under, okay? So they like to be close to things, and I've always found if they're in large open spaces, they get really skittish. So really, there shouldn't be a situation where you would be walking in an open space with your leopard gecko where it would require a leash. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, I understand there are some really big reptiles. I've seen monitor lizards and tegus where people put them on leashes because maybe their enclosure isn't really big enough and they need to get out and do more exercise. Totally understand that. Leopard geckos are quite small and somewhat fragile. Like, I don't understand putting a leash around their little chests, and they're not going to run off. Like, how slow do you have to be that you need to put a leopard gecko on a leash? I don't get it. And also, I remember a shop, I think it was earlier this year, tried to advertise a hamster wheel for a leopard gecko. Now, I really hope they were joking, but I do wonder how many people saw that and thought, that's actually a good idea. I can't imagine a leopard gecko using it. Even in the video you could see they clearly put the leopard gecko on there and sort of forced it to walk. But also I imagine it puts a lot of stress on their back. This moves me on to the final photo. I wanted to talk about the feet photo. This photo has plagued the leopard gecko hobby for so long, I swear. Like, I guess as a meme, some people who don't really know leopard geckos might be like, oh, that looks kind of cute, I don't know. But to me, I just see a straining gecko. Now, as I said at the beginning, leopard geckos are incredibly photogenic reptiles. They can just be going about their daily life or just hunting and they can look really cute. So why on earth would you do this? When have you ever seen a leopard gecko naturally go like this? They're not a pangolin. They're not a hedgehog. They don't roll up. Like, this isn't a normal position for them. And I imagine it puts an enormous amount of pressure on their spine. And I see people try to recreate this all the time. And, you know, it might just be that you're a new owner. You've always seen this meme. You thought, oh my God, I want to recreate it. And you don't know the dangers of it. And I actually had someone reach out to me once because they tried to recreate this. They put their gecko back in their tank and its back legs weren't working. Trust me when I tell you, it's not worth a few likes you'll get on Instagram. And I'm sorry this has gone like ranty, but at the end of the day, with like social media and YouTube, everyone's trying, and TikTok, everyone's trying to get the clicks, the likes, the views. But when you start putting your animals at risk just to make a meme or to recreate them, to think, oh, this looks cute, it's not worth it. And I think you could probably tell if you've been following me for a while, I don't take risks with my reptiles. I don't, you know, purposely put them in danger to have like a clickbait title and get all the views, okay? My reptiles, and I'm sure you're the same, mean the world to me, and I would never forgive myself if I put them in a risky position for a few clicks and something happened to them. I get tagged in photos, like I've mentioned, of these sort of things all the time, and people think it's cute and I guess they want me to see their gecko, but just, I'm not going to like those photos. It's just, I'll probably untag myself from those photos. It's not something I want to promote. I also get tagged in photos where people are like, oh, I'm your biggest fan, I watch all your videos, but they have like a 10-gal tank, sand, red light, and one hide for the leopard geckos, and I'm like, no. So I don't know, I feel like I had to get this off my chest. I know most of you who watch this channel who are probably watching this video are responsible owners and already know this stuff. You probably, you know, this is a group rant. We can all get this out. We get frustrated when we see these memes, and if you see people try to recreate these photos, share this video with them. Hopefully it will change their mind. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I swear I don't rant all the time. But thanks for watching, and goodbye.